US, and just yesterday it arrived in the studio courtesy of LG. Basically, this device is LG's transition away from the G and V series of devices, bringing a new design and feature set and a slightly more appetizing price tag of $599. One area that LG is really promoting with the Velvet is its design, which we'll take an in-depth look at in a moment. Inside the care package LG sent us is first and foremost a reviewer's guide and what appears to be postcards detailing the design and the display. And off to the right-hand side, we have the LG Velvet for AT&T because it's launching first on AT&T with T-Mobile and Verizon support coming later this summer. Some of the accessories included for us to take a look at in our full review include a protective design skin branded case. That's the name of the brand. LG actually included a Velvet branded phone sanitizer here. You put your phone inside of it and you let the device blast your phone with UVC light for 5 minutes, which kills 99.9% of common household germs, including COVID-19. However, it may take a little bit longer to completely render viruses like that inactive. Other accessories include a power cable for said disinfector and an official dual screen accessory for the LG Velvet. So even though LG is moving away from the G and V series of devices, they're bringing some features over like support for a dual screen accessory, which adds a full-fledged secondary display. Now, it is a bummer to see AT&T in 2020 ruining the unboxing experience with AT&T branding and paperwork, but that's what you're gonna get if you pick this device up for this network. Inside, we'll find some paperwork and the silver LG Velvet looking nice and shiny. The only accessories you're gonna find here are a USB-C charging cable, a power adapter, and a SIM card ejector tool. Now, upon first impressions with the LG Velvet, it looks and feels very well constructed and it doesn't feel too hollow like some of LG's previous devices. And that kind of sounds weird to say, but you'll know what I mean if you have ever used them. In terms of size, it's a tad bit on the big side for my liking, but it's nearly identical in size to the OnePlus 8 Pro, which I've been accustomed to since I've been using it for the past couple of months. There are some design elements that I really like. First of all, I like the subtle curves of the metal chassis and the contrast of materials between it and the black glass display. The edges of the glass and the display are actually curved, but there's slightly more bezel on the edges than, say, the OnePlus 8 Pro. So I don't think you'll notice too many accidental touches from your palm, but I guess we'll have to wait and see. The headphone jack is nice to see, not gonna lie. Also, there is a micro SD card slot for expandable storage, which you don't really see too often in phones in this price category, so that's really nice to see. Now, in the LG reviewer guide, the company praises the decision to make two of the rear camera sensors flush with the back of the phone. However, the main 48 megapixel camera sensor, it still protrudes slightly from the rear, which is, I don't know, it's kind of just a weird thing to highlight because it still makes the phone rock from side to side when on a flat surface. It still exposes it to more potential damage. So I'm not sure why they even mention it. The last thing I will say is the dual stereo speakers are nice to see here, and it's also really neat to see support for 9-watt wireless charging as well as fast 25-watt wired charging. So for $600, a $600 phone, you get wireless charging, which is great to see. Booting up the phone for the very first time, I got to set up the in-display fingerprint scanner, which isn't the fastest or the most accurate. I'm hoping it's better than the LG V60's in-display sensor, but I have a feeling it's not. The 6.8-inch OLED display upon first impressions, it does a good job displaying bright, vivid colors and has a pleasing 395 pixel per inch index. It doesn't get too bright though, and I did have to custom tweak the display colors because it had a slight blue tint out of the box, but otherwise it's really not too bad of a panel. But I can already tell the software experience is gonna be the weakest link here with the LG Velvet, just like it was with the LG V60 and really just about every other LG phone of recent memory. It looks like they've reskinned some areas, but for the most part, this is gonna be a very familiar experience, a very familiar software experience if you're coming from an older LG device. And I think the weakest link in the specs department is the processor. LG has opted for a mid-tier Snapdragon 765G chipset since it supports 5G with 8 gigabytes of RAM and 128 gigabytes of internal storage with UFS 2.1. I actually think this was a smart move to cut the performance slightly but keep most of the bells and whistles of its previous flagships, because what's really slowed LG phones down is the software and not so much the specs and the processors. In my limited usage, I've already noticed some sluggish animations and stuttering, but that was also the case with the LG V60 and its Snapdragon 865 chipset. So I'm glad they chose to keep wireless charging and expandable storage, for example, then cut those features to save money and incorporate a slightly faster flagship chipset. Now, there are a total of 3 rear-facing camera sensors, a 48 megapixel f1.8 main lens, 8 megapixel ultra-wide lens, and a 5 megapixel depth sensor for portrait mode photos. We also have a 16 megapixel front-facing camera. I'm gonna hold my opinions of the cameras for my full review, as with my recommendation for whether or not you should buy this phone. But for $600, the LG Velvet actually looks pretty appealing, and that's coming from a guy who pretty much trashed the LG V60. I like that there's wireless charging, I like that there's expandable storage, a headphone jack, IP68 water resistance rating, a big 4300 milliamp hour battery, and stereo speakers, among other things. Once again, the software will be the biggest deterrent, but the design and the bells and whistles might make up for it. So let me know your thoughts of the LG Velvet in the comments down below. As always, I'm BoHD from PhoneDog.com. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you for watching.